Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Cassandra with the Calm Lab, where we discuss all things related to the nervous system. Today, I am very excited to have Renee Har as my guest, my very close friend. She is a group fitness enthusiast as well as the owner of HarFit. Welcome, Renee.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. I'm so happy to have you here. Um, I know you have a lot to add to the nervous system conversation as it's related to health and wellness. And so I'm hoping today you can just talk a little bit about how you, as a group fitness instructor, business owner, parent, friend, family member, how you manage your nervous system with all of these things going. You prioritize fitness. And so you want to have a very healthy nervous system so that you can continue functioning highly. So tell us about you and how you stay so healthy, inside and out.
Oh, well, thank you. I take that as a compliment. Um, so about me, I guess I started off like with sports. A lot of people do, and I took cheerleading into my own hands a little bit, and I wasn't very good at tumbling.
Mm.
So they always put me in the back, like lifting the girls. So I feel like doing the basket tosses
Mm.
because I was so bad at tumbling is what made me like start the lifting of the weights. Um,
Interesting. I love
yeah,
that.
no,
Okay.
because I just I feel like I'm too heavy to the ground to fly through the air like these girls do doing double fulls and such. That was just not me. Um, and then as I like progressed through life, I remember going to the gym and I'm pretty sure I was 18 and we just started lifting and it was like the LA Fitness that just opened and so I would do a little bit of that and I was kind of like that cardio girl cuz at the time that's what fitness was. You just go on the treadmill for an hour and then you go to the elliptical for another hour.
Yes.
Um
Yes.
and then from there, like college, I worked out, but I did a little bit more lifting when I worked out in college. And when I came home from college, I found hot yoga, and then I learned the sweat, and I learned these poses and the flexibility and the challenge there. And um, fast forwarded into getting ready for my wedding, and I came across this book called Evolution by I'm gonna butcher his name, but Joe Melaganello. I never say his name right. Anyway,
Okay. I don't know
it
that book. I'll
it
look it
was
up.
like a 6 weeks no nonsense program. He basically said like this is how you work out and this is how you eat and if you do this you're gonna feel good and it was kind of a 6 weeks to look good for that photo shoot or that event. So once I did that for the wedding, I saw my body change and then I entered a bodybuilding competition and then I started entering these other competitions and next thing you know, I'm 41 and I'm still fit. so so I just feel like I found an interest in health and fitness and I kept being interested in it and through that it now is just my life. It's my everyday lifestyle. So, and I'm really happy about that because I see other people in their 40s and I don't even think they would know where to start at the gym. And so I'm so thankful that I have this background and I've created a lifestyle based around it.
So, where does the 40-year-old who has never worked out, or maybe just played around a little bit, or maybe they used to in high school or college and now they're not, where do they begin?
You know, I really feel like it starts with your goal. Like what's the goal? Is it to lose the inches? Is
It
it to,
might be
yeah, is
health.
it to feel better? Are you trying to get off a medication? Um, so it's always comes back to that why. And then the next thing, and what I'm noticing, um, is because the internet is so easily accessible. People who, okay, I want to join a gym. All right, type in gyms near me, and they pop up. Maybe it's a Crunch, maybe it's an EOS, maybe it's a LA. I don't even know anymore. I go to a little kind of mom and pop gym, but like they, the person is judging that gym or the yoga studio or the Pilates studio based solely on what they see on their website. So if they
Or their
have a,
reviews.
or the reviews.
Mm.
And so without even leaving your couch, without even getting up, you've already judged it all, decided probably what you're not going to do. You probably overstimulated yourself and you probably just talked yourself right out of it and said, I'll deal with it
Nervous
later.
system activated, overwhelmed. Maybe you are in flight or freeze.
Absolutely. So I think if I was in my 40s and I'm like, you know what? I'm so sick of feeling this way. The first step is get up, get into your car and drive somewhere and physically check out the studio or check out the gym. See what the people are like around. Do you want to be around those people?
Mm.
See, do you like the really, really big gyms? Or now they have these boutique gyms where it's kind of small, but you have an access code and it's 24 hours a day. Um,
Mm.
but if you never physically go, the pictures just don't do it justice. That the feeling doesn't do it justice. And let the people who work there, yeah, they're going to try to sell it to you, but let them. You might like what they have to hear, and you might like what they have to offer. So
Hmm.
that's where I would start.
Why group fitness? Why does that kind of get you going? How do you think that is useful and helpful to people? Because personally, you and I are very opposite, where I started off working one-on-one. Well, that's probably not true. I started yoga classes, teaching them everywhere, like whoever would take them. Um, but then I kind of moved into a model of just working with people one-on-one. And now I guess I'm going back out to talking to more people at once. Why do you like group fitness? Um, how does that help people? And like specifically related to nervous system regulation, how can that help someone who's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who's just getting back out there again? I mean, even in your 30s, I
Yeah.
guess it could be 20s. You're just starting off. You don't know what to do.
Yeah. Especially if you're coming like, you know, COVID is finally behind us, but that definitely kept a lot of people isolated. And
Hmm.
now maybe they're so stuck on solo working out. Maybe group
Mm.
fitness intimidates them. But there's four dimensions of health. There's your spiritual, which is connected to any higher power, anything that's bigger than yourself, having that spiritual connection, just to know that like the world doesn't revolve around you.
Hmm.
There is your physical health, obviously, doing something active and being physically fit. The definition is that your body can do whatever you want it to do. Um, and then there's your mental, emotional health. And then there is your relationship health, your relational health, being a part of a community, having relationships that foster love and happiness and joy and are there in the times that you need. So with these four parts of health, if one is lacking, then technically your whole dimension of health is also lacking. So if you don't have a community, then
You're missing something.
you're missing something.
Have you read The Blue Zones or watched? I guess Netflix made something about the Blue Zones.
Yes.
And every single course I have ever taken talks about this piece, which a lot of people are missing out on, especially post-COVID or like in the Western world, which is positive social connections. Highlight the word positive, you
Yes.
know. being with others, finding something you're doing together, being social.
It really is. And I know both of us as moms, we've heard it takes a village. I'm going to be honest, I don't see a lot of village
Hmm.
in life anymore. Like I don't really see it. It's maybe it's just my neighborhood, or maybe it's just, my family and in the dynamic that we have. But like I just don't really see that when it comes to like raising the kids. So in my world, it's like, okay, well, maybe we don't have a village necessarily raising the kids, but shoot, we need to have a mom village. We need to have a gal pal village. We need to have something, um,
Hmm.
because we're not created to do it alone.
Right. Do you still do group fitness, like stroller strides types of stuff?
No, because once the kids turn about 3 and they realize they can get out of the stroller, it kind of puts a damper on that.
Yeah.
So no, and also when I was doing me personally, when I was doing that, that is when fitness was pretty much canceled due to COVID, because we would
Mm,
walk the mall, we'd be in the mall, and when the
mm.
malls closed, then everything kind of shut down. And when you go to a park, of course, there's a playground, and then all the kids are like,
That's where we're going.
that's where we're going.
Yes.
So
I
no,
see
but
a
that,
lot of I see a lot of parents working out at the playground, like, the pull-ups. I see parents like over there doing that or push-ups. I always love those people. Um, so with fitness being such a high priority in your life, having a spouse, children, other responsibilities, how do you make sure you take care of your nervous system? Because oftentimes as a parent, we put ourselves last.
so okay. So if you want a muscular body or a toned, lean body, you
Got to pump
will
the iron.
you do. But here's the thing. It only works if you have rest and recovery.
And if you've slept well enough, right?
And sleep is a huge part of it.
Mm-hmm.
So how deflating is that if you are doing all this work in the gym, you're trying really hard, you're lifting at your max, you're um, being consistent, but you're ruining it because you're staying up way too late, or you don't have a regular sleep cycle, or you're like on energy drinks, and therefore that's not going well with your sleep cycle. You're
Mm-hmm.
just slowing your progression. So, what I found was work hard, but also you need to rest hard.
Rest. And as you age, you need to up the rest a little bit more.
Yeah.
So for you, do you believe in the system where basically like one day you're doing sort of like HIIT training and cardio, the next day you're doing strength training, the next day HIIT and cardio, or some version of that, the next day
Yeah.
strength training. So you're putting a day between and of course adding in yoga or stretching.
Yeah.
What does your schedule look like and how does that help you stay regulated?
Okay. So, my schedule right now,
You teach a lot of these classes, so your schedule looks crazy. I was like, why is she having a hard time explaining? But I know exactly
yeah.
why.
Well, because I also don't want to overdo it. I'm not going to lie.
Right,
Like,
right. It's
it's
hard.
you go into the gym, and I think some people think, oh, you have to work out every day. Absolutely not. 3 to 4 times a week, success, right? It's
Yes.
it's success. Again, depending on your goal. Me in my life, I'm in the maintenance goal. I just want to maintain what I have. I don't need to be in a calorie deficit. I don't need to be in a calorie. I don't need to gain more. I'm not in a bulking season. So for me, Monday I teach yoga, and I'm in that good sweat, and I like to get the toxins out. I like to stretch, I like to move, I like to help others. So I feel like I get that good stretch in on Monday. And then the other 3 days, I teach a sculpt, which is a little bit of yoga, a little bit of high intensity training. I like to do some mat Pilates and also some basic bodybuilding movements. And then we end still at the end of class with stretching and shavasana. So I make sure when my class has shavasana, I'm laying down too. I'm taking my couple minutes to reset my nervous system as well. On the Monday, I do my sound bowls at the beginning and the end of class. And I mean, selfishly, yeah, I'm playing it for other people, but it's for sure benefiting me too, because now my frequencies are going to match the bowls. Um, and then I like to try to get a little bit of strength training in. And I have to admit, recently I've been using the reformer for the strength training because it's just so much nicer on my joints.
I'm
And it's,
so glad you love Pilates. I remember the first time I started talking to you about it, you're like, I hate
I
it.
did, I did. And now it's the whole reformer thing. I mean, you put all those springs on, it's like 200 pounds. There's
Mm,
no reason you can't get a great strength workout
absolutely.
with it. But I can tell you, I'm starting to shift a little bit away from super heavy weights because I just feel like I'm going to end up in the chiropractor
Mm,
and I'm going to hurt myself because, just being careless or not having the proper form or not resting properly or hydrating properly. It's a little bit more risky when you are lifting heavier.
hmm I'm wondering how you can recognize students who come to you with a dysregulated nervous system.
Yeah.
Um, Go ahead.
Oh,
Like,
that question got me, but keep going. I want to.
I guess I'm just because this is very difficult because a lot of people they come to me dysregulated. That's kind of like the point. Um, but how do you, it is different in group fitness as well because you're having to look out for and manage and help so many people in group fitness. I mean, when you, I guess a couple of questions. How do you start your classes so that you kind of make sure everybody's nervous systems have calmed down a little bit? How do you recognize dysregulation and like what can you do about it? How do you end the class to help them end? And like, arrest and digest as best as you can. Because really, the truth is, and what the science tells us is that it takes, if you are in fight or flight mode, it takes 25 minutes to 30 minutes to completely come down out of that sympathetic activation into the parasympathetic. So the truth is, how could you really do all that in a group fitness in that amount of time? You can't, right? But you're providing tools and the scaffolding for things like that to take place. So, what do you notice around that?
So as the instructor, I arrive 15 minutes early. And typically, you'll see some people sitting in the lobby on their phones, just kind of, you
Mm,
can tell they're kind of finishing up some things because they don't want to take their phone into the room. There's that kind of person.
hmm
Then there's the other kind of person who shows up 20 minutes early just to go in the warm room and lay on their mats and do nothing. So I love those people because they're just leaving it outside of the four walls and taking care of their moments to themselves. Um, then there's the people in the room on their cell phone, on the watch. And I can't control other people. So that pre space, I kind of can notice who is in a rush, who has something on their mind, or who's just ready to just disconnect from the world and be in the room. Um, I start off the class with breath work. We kind of just take a few deep breaths. I typically will start them off in a seated posture or in a child's pose, just to kind of connect with the earth underneath them, feeling the space, arriving in the space, thinking about, um, the present moment, not all the obstacles it took to get there. And I always like to acknowledge, like, I know there's probably things that got in your way to get here, but you made it.
mm,
So here you are. Give yourself like a little pat on the back for that moment. Um, Now for the yoga, I like to play the bowls when I just kind of get them into that moving part before we start really getting into the deeper poses. But for sculpt and flow, it's very challenging. I do work for a franchise studio, and so I do have to follow their guidelines and their like sequence. Um, so we start off a little slow for this sculpt and flow. There's 12 minutes. I have 12 minutes at the beginning of the class to basically center, warm up the body, do a little yoga, dynamic stretching, and then we start with the weights. Um, so I try really hard to make sure we ease into that. And then at the end of class, I don't get upset, but they want no more, no less of 4 minutes of Shavasana, four, which is not enough. It's not. But I try to make sure I always offer those 4 minutes, and we come out and we have some gratitude moments, some appreciation for our bodies and our mind. And then we go off on our way.
Do they have an option to stay in that room a little bit longer than 4 minutes? Not really.
No.
Yeah. So this is kind of, it makes me think because you and I are both, were previously school teachers, and it makes me think of right when I got out of college and I was teaching, I was like, none of this stuff that we're doing is the the way that it's supposed to be done. Like
No.
science and all the research has shown us that they need this, yet this is the way I'm made to teach. Because of the school system and the
Yes.
government having certain standards. And I'm definitely not knocking who you work for. And I know time is a thing, but it reminds me back to that, just kind of like, but this isn't the way it's supposed to be. Like,
Mhm.
that doesn't really help the nervous system come down, especially after a super intense training.
Yeah. It's and I know um that Shavasana is hard for a lot of people. And it is hard sometimes to lay there after you just brought your heart rate up super high. So I try towards the end of the hit part to kind of get students down to the floor. And, maybe it's core work, but it's not that like jumping around kind of fitness. So hopefully they're ready to stretch. We'll take a long stretch, slow it down. But then there's always the people, and I think it's funny because you see it on Instagram, like the memes of like the people who just can't stay for Shavasana. They just have to roll it up and get out before that even happens.
Mm.
And I like to try to remind during that moment to just say, okay, we just stressed our bodies on purpose. It is a healthy stress, but now it's time to let the nervous system calm back down so we are not constantly in a stage of fight and flight.
Hmm.
Um,
I have noticed it, in trying to facilitate meditation, it's hard for people to sit with the silence of their mind or just the thoughts of their mind, to
yeah,
sit still while all of those thoughts are looping and going on. A lot of people do want to skip out on Shavasana. They're like,
oh
forget
yeah,
it. My brain gets too noisy. I can't do it.
right,
So,
yes,
so how do you encourage people? Or I guess another question would be, if what does the perfect cool down look like after a HIIT training, after a power yoga, after any sort of strength training? Like, what does a very perfect wind down look like to you for the body and the mind and the spirit, the soul, everything, so that you can transition from that workout into being mom or dad or into work, whatever you need to do?
yeah. What's interesting? I think that question that you just asked, because what I want to say is probably going to be it's already going to overwhelm the people who are just wanting to get started. Like, wait, I got to get dressed and I got to go to the gym and I got to lift all these weights. And now I have to properly cool down and recover. So, and the
It's
answer is yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. They're like, how many minutes does like I've got 20. So that actually feeds into like a very, very popular question, which is like, I'm already stressed. I'm already overwhelmed. I already have way too much on my plate. I literally don't know how I can fit a 20-minute workout in. Like, how do I do that? And I'm sorry that I asked you another question and you didn't even get to answer the last one.
Well, so
Tell me the
it,
cool down first. I'm sorry. I totally
no,
messed you up.
no, you're fine. I know what I wanted to say and it just slipped my brain. But
Yeah.
okay,
And
so I think for a cool down, yes, it would be taking about 10 to 15 minutes to really stretch the muscles that you just worked.
mhm.
Because at the beginning of your workout, you should be doing a dynamic warm up. You should be
Right.
moving, right? That's
Explain what that means.
so it's not just like bend over, touch your toes, and stay there for a couple of minutes. It's like reach up, bend down, touch your toes, reach up again, open legs, take one arm to opposite hand, one arm to opposite hand. We want to circle our hips around, circle our arms around. We're not just holding this stretch for a while, we're moving, maybe even taking a weight and just warming up all the muscles. So it's a dynamic stretch. You're moving versus a static hold where you're doing, you know, sitting there and touching your toes for a few minutes and letting the muscles to completely relax.
So really
Um,
your workout kind of begins. I mean, sometimes when I'm warming up, I'm like, my heart rate, if I check my aura ring, is already, I'm definitely in zone one. I'm
yes,
moving, I'm getting things going.
yes, you're letting your body know I am going to work out. I need you to prepare. And what happens when we become in fight or flight mode, right? Your I hope I say this correctly, but like your blood vessels dilate, right? To move blood to your vital organs.
Hmm.
Your heart rate starts going, your lungs get wider, you're preparing for fight or flight.
Hmm.
So that's what your dynamic stretch is doing. You're not
Hmm.
necessarily flighting, but you're going to fight by lifting up the weights, or maybe yeah, you are going for a run, like
Right.
maybe you're training for a marathon.
Absolutely.
So therefore you need to have the enough energy to flight for a significant amount of time.
Right.
um so I would think, right, if we're talking about our four dimensions of health, that once you've done the physical part, now you're going to stretch and nourish the body and taking care of your muscles. Like, man, I worked legs today. Let me take care of my leg muscles and I'm going to stretch them, maybe even take my hand and massage them or put them on a roller.
A
Um,
roller, yes.
mm-hmm.
Such an inexpensive way to
Yeah.
take care of your body. Those big
Yes.
foam rollers.
Yes.
Hmm.
And get the blood back in there. And then if you lay there and you just take a second, that's when if I just lay there for a moment and I'm thinking to myself, all right, my heart just worked really hard. My lungs just worked really hard. Let me give them a break.
Mm.
And that's kind of because, and I say this in my classes, they carry you through everything. Like
Mm.
it's every day, all day, constantly working. So
Mm.
just let them rest for a second. And then as far as the brain, gratitude erases negativity. So oftentimes if I'm laying there, I'll say, I'm so happy I was able to lift that weight today. I'm so happy I carved this time out for myself. And just kind of take a moment to basically smell the roses, like give yourself kudos, take that moment, and then you need to go eat something nourishing.
Protein.
And then you need to probably cook it yourself because it's
That
better.
that is beautiful. Okay, so we're gonna get into that. So, um, you're thinking, and this is the protocol I follow, which is at least 10 minutes of dynamic stretching before I go into my workout, and then 10 minutes of stretching at the end of my workout. Do you think 10 minutes on both sides is pretty decent?
100%. I
Okay,
absolutely think so.
And then, moving into the food, because of course I'm vegan, which is so controversial because of the protein. But let's take that out of the equation. Moving from a workout, especially what the types of workout we're talking about, you have to fuel your body. You have to give, your muscles something that to replenish. What do you like best? Probably, I already know what you're going to say. Protein, low sugar or no
Mhm.
sugar, some fats, some veggies in there if you can, fruits. What is kind of like your go-to breakfast after? Well, I guess you work out all day, every day. So,
Sometimes I feel like it, but um, I love a good protein shake. I'm not going to lie. I love a good protein shake. It's easy, especially if I'm running errands and I'm on the go, or if I just don't feel like cooking. I will
mhm,
do, and then I'll add hemp hearts. I'll add chia seeds. Sometimes I'll use almond milk. Sometimes I use whole milk. Sometimes I add peanut butter or almond butter. I almost always have a banana in there because I like the way it makes my smoothies feel. It's a good texture thing. But like
totally.
that's a thing for me.
Is it whey protein that you use?
So I go back and forth with all of it. I have a vegan protein, which is my preference because I just think the flavor is so good.
Hmm.
Um, and I do
Which
have
one
what
is it?
it's the Orgain chocolate. It just is
Okay.
so tasty. And then I'm not a huge fan of vanilla protein, but I'll use it if I have fruits and stuff like that, if I'm making
Hmm.
more of a fruity
Hmm.
thing. Um,
So
I
yours is more, you like more of the desserty smoothie situation.
you know what? It right now, it's just what's working in my world
Yes.
because that's just where I'm at in my mom world
Your
right now.
evolution. Do you ever add flax seeds or pumpkin seeds? Because in addition to the hemp and the chia, of course, there's protein, but also they having those four as a female to help balance your hormones is so important.
Ooh,
Yeah.
flax, yes, but not pumpkin seeds.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I
Give
need
it
to
a
do that
go.
then. Will
Yes.
do.
Okay.
Definitely. I love all that stuff. That's why I love a smoothie because you can just throw everything in there. It's you don't even have to think about it and it's done. But if I had a light something to eat and then I went to go teach a class or then I went to go work out, when I come back, I'm loading it up with eggs. I'm gonna have some Ezekiel bread with some grass-fed butter
Hmm.
and I maybe some bacon or sausage. I don't know, but for the most part, it's something along those lines. But every meal I eat is centered around protein, and then I add something to it.
Okay.
Um,
Like veggie slash whole grain
yeah.
or
So
fruit.
yeah. So you know, celery and peanut butter, carrots and peanut butter. Make a quick Greek yogurt and add some ranch seasoning, and now I have veggies and dip,
Mm.
apples and peanut butter. I like trail mix. Just everything is centered around protein. Um, because I mean, as we get older, our muscle mass diminishes and it's really hard to keep it. So that's why I center it around that.
Hmm. Hmm. And all the work that you do with yoga really helps with balance and like functional movements, which as we age, those are things that we need big
Yeah.
time that people often, I don't know, they don't prioritize it or they don't understand how useful it is. What do you think, about the busy person who they just can't squeeze in a workout? I mean, what could they start with? What could they do? What if they have young children and they can't leave them to go to group fitness? Like, what would be some quick solutions? I already know because I had young children at a time and they were always hanging on me as I was doing my yoga. So, like, what do you see helps best for people who are already, their nervous system is highly activated most of the time. They're functioning in the sympathetic, the fight flight. They're always up here. What could be helpful for them? Because I don't know if encouraging them to go into a HIIT class is probably going to serve their body overall the best.
anytime there's somebody who asks that exact question, I just don't have enough time. I don't know what to do. I direct them to the Fit On app. I'm sure there's a million apps out there, but I have somehow found the Fit On. And what I love about it is there, when you're searching through the workouts, you can choose a body part you want to focus on, and then those will pop up. But what I like about it is that they have times. So I can
Mm,
say 15 minutes. I'll see all the 15-minute videos that I want. And I know I got 15 minutes. I'm doing this workout. And I'm telling you, when I was doing that regularly when the kids were young, I was sweating my butt off in 15 minutes watching these videos. All I had to do is get up, pick the video, and do what it said. And that really did. And I think that was during COVID too. It kept me consistent. It kept me consistent. And I really appreciated an app like that.
So, becoming a group fitness instructor, owning your business, being a parent, how have you noticed, I guess, kind of over the trajectory of your life, how it has impacted your nervous system? And what are your go-to tools when you start feeling anxious, if you start feeling overwhelmed, if you start feeling like, I just can't do this anymore? What do you go to bring yourself back into a good feeling place?
I am like deep, deep into this journey of the nervous system. You have obviously helped a ton about that and really bringing some awareness to it. Um, Sometimes I've already lost both of my parents. So
Mm,
sometimes when I feel like the walls are caving in or I'm just missing this piece and I can't figure it out, I will tell myself, this is grief. Like, this is a point, like, you are feeling this way and you're feeling a little bit trapped, probably because I want to reach out to my mom or I wish I could
oh,
reach out to my dad. It's like,
yes.
and sometimes I just need to acknowledge that and maybe go cry it out for 15 minutes.
Yes.
And it's just enough to go, you know what, Renee, you're okay, but this is the cards you were dealt. And it is okay to just deal with these emotions so that you can carry on with your life. So
How did you get to a point where you could even recognize that? Because oftentimes, we've all experienced traumas and loss on very different levels. Not a single one of us is unscathed. Um,
no.
but oftentimes, it's hard to recognize it, see it in your life, or even admit it, because we kind of want to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
So, how did you get to that point, and what do you do about it so that you don't get to a place where you just feel completely overwhelmed and just ready to check out? Because you have a lot going on in your life.
Yeah. So I'm starting to notice the physical reactions of my body. If I feel like I am on the verge of tears, I pretty much know this is a grief situation.
Mm.
If I feel I'm on the verge of where I want to punch a wall, then I am pretty
You might be
much
in fight.
like, if I just feel so angry, I want to flip a table or I just want to it's probably because I don't have control of a situation.
Hmm.
And that is when I sit down, I go, okay, Renee, you cannot control others and you cannot control this. You can only control yourself. How can you release this energy? Go lift weights or go outside. This is why I'm outside now. Like,
Hmm.
just go outside and take some deep breaths because somewhere I'm imbalanced, and a really good frequency to just recenter is nature. Just go outside and listen to the word, like the sounds and the natural. Um, and then there are some other times when I feel like I just want to run away. Um, Flight mode, I've noticed
Uh-huh.
I just want to either run away or escape to a room and close everybody off. That is when I feel like my to-do list, I'm overstimulated. Like there is just too much on my to-do list. And that's when I've had to go, okay, Renee, like what is the priority right now? And I
Mm.
focus on that. Um, so I've been doing a lot of work on this. Um, and just really just being aware and
So awareness is always the key, right? Once you're aware, you can never become unaware.
no.
If if you had 10 minutes a day to serve your nervous system, to work on your nervous system, to do something for your nervous system, what would you do? And let's say you're a newbie and you have no idea where to start. Because I heard you say breath, I heard you say grounding and nature. Um,
Yeah.
so, what would you recommend to people?
If it's nice and sunny outside, go outside for 10 minutes. Like cover up your face because wrinkles come.
SPF and hats, people.
Okay, cover your face. It's a lot of money to like try to deal with that. So cover your face and then just expose your body. Just get some 15 minutes of
Oh, vitamin
sunlight.
D. Okay.
Yes. Just get 15 minutes and also listen to the sound around you.
Mm.
Notice your belly breathing. Just taking that moment in the sunlight to just grow. I contribute when you go in the sun, you are growing just like a plant would.
Photosynthesis.
Love it, right? And then the other thing is, it's kind of silly, but I bought with the red light face masks. It's
Yeah.
not one of the super expensive ones, but they say 15 minutes a day, and you'll notice a difference in like 3 to 4 weeks.
The
15,
infrared light.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. So what am I doing? Like, I'm just gonna, and you can't open your eyes, right? You don't want to
Right.
open your eyes with it on. So, oh, I need to lay there for 15 minutes.
There you go. Take your breaths, listen to the sounds around you.
Yes. So I put your YouTube videos on. I found one the other day for 13 minutes. I listened to it, or I'm laying on the couch while maybe the kids are watching TV. I put my feet up on the couch so that the blood circulates down to my
Yes.
vital organs, and I lay there
Yes.
for 15 minutes.
Did you know even putting the feet up too and having that reversal of the blood flow activates your parasympathetic? So it helps you with rest and digest, which is why that is such a powerful yoga move. Also, super powerful to do right before bed.
Yes.
And you mentioned the yoga nidra videos. That is super powerful. Just the calm, meditative awareness, I guess.
Yes. It is it is it is very nice, and I've really enjoyed actively doing it, not just like talking about it, but like really doing it.
Hmm. And your kids are seeing that.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Oh yeah.
a lot of parents feel guilt. Like they don't want to take this time to do this. I already know. They don't want to take the time to do this for themselves. And oftentimes in certain cultures, there is a huge part of that culture is guilt. And especially as a female, focusing on doing for others instead of doing for yourself. So, how can we erase that guilt from people, from parents, from females, mothers? Like, what can we say?
The other day I saw something and it was like if you feel guilty sitting down and resting, even though there's like stuff that needs to be done, if you feel guilty, it's because you were raised that way.
Oh, that's
You
interesting.
you
It's a story that you've been
yeah.
told. Mm,
Yeah, it's a maybe you were considered lazy if you just sat around and did nothing, or
mm.
a slob if you didn't clean up after yourself immediately. Um, Whatever that is, but I've gotten to the point where I'm like, no, no. Like I can feel it. I am not going to be a good mom right now if I stay in this headspace and react to whatever they're doing that's bothering me. Mom's taking, you're not taking a timeout. I need a timeout. This is my issue. So, um, the guilt thing, it has to go. I used to think when I would go on a plane, which, I don't traveled a few places, but they'd be like, put your face mask on first. And I think to myself, how
Mm.
dare they? Like,
Yeah.
how dare you say that? If there's somebody next to me, I'm going to help them. And if they need help, I'm going to help them first. But in reality, we really do have to put our face mask on first
Hmm.
in order to appropriately and mindfully help somebody else.
Fill your cup. You have to have your cup full before you can fill the cups of others, or at least your cup needs to have something in it, right?
Something,
So,
definitely.
what has shifted for you personally, knowing this, being aware of this?
What has shifted for me personally about really understanding my nervous system is that my relationships with my family were not good. When I finally realized that everybody else was walking on eggshells around me, I was not okay with that.
Mm,
So that was the ultimate driver of like really going, okay, Renee, like this is your life. You must accept it. And we can't be mad at the world for everything. And you also can't just work out your way through it. Something else has to change here. And so that is what kind of drove me to really start taking those 15 minutes.
mm. I love that. That's so beautiful. I love it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for being on. Of course, I love talking to you always. Where can we find you? I know your website is harfit,
Yes.
HARFIT.com.
Yes.
Tell us where we can find you on socials as well.
So still the same for my Instagram. It is Harfit. And then you can also find me on Facebook under Renee Har, and there's also a Harfit under Facebook. And the website will direct you to those as well and give you my contact information if needed.
Fantastic. I will link those in the show notes. Thank you for being here. I'm so appreciative, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for having
Bye.
me. I
Yep.
appreciate it as well.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.